Welcome to another episode of Yesterday's Capers. I'm Abdullah Moallim, and every week I'll be bringing you the very best shows from the past that the world has to offer. This week, we'll be shining a light on your fave black sisters. I'll be putting Sister up against Mo to the E to the Moesha. And we'll be taking a special look at the show that inspired Friends and a whole bunch of your favorite sitcoms. We'll be reminiscing about Living Single, which is considered by many to be one of the very best and most memorable black shows of all time. So, let's get started. And joining me as ever is producer Paul. Hey Paul, how's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good, thanks. Let's start then with Sister, which came out in April 1994. So some of the things that happened in the world at this time, you had the Rwandan president, Juvenal Habyarimana, I can't even say his name, Habyarimana, and the Burundian president, Cyprien Ntaryamira. Their plane, unfortunately, was shot down by surface-to-air missiles, which killed them both and brought their peace negotiations to an abrupt end. You also had Richard Nixon, the former US president, was buried in the Nixon Library in California. And you had Rodney King, who, if you may know or may not know, was brutally beaten up by the police in 1991 in LA. And it was recorded. So this was kind of one of the first instances where police brutality was kind of captured on camera, and it sparked outrage not only in America but around the world. It brought about the LA riots, and it really shone a light on some of the actions and the practices of the Los Angeles Police Department. And yeah, so in April 1994, Rodney King was awarded £3.8 million in compensation. Also, When a Man Loves a Woman was the top film in April 1994. And Everything Changes by Take That was number one at this time. So, Sister. So this was the American sitcom starring two identical twins, Tia and Tamara Mowry. I still can't tell them apart.
This sister.
Yeah.
So,
I can't tell them apart.
I can't tell them apart because I wondered if they were doing like a kind of split screen thing at first. Do you know, like she plays herself twice?
Yeah.
That's not the case, right? They're just twins that
they
play.
Are identical twins. I can't tell them apart.
I can't. I really can't.
I must have watched a whole bunch of episodes, and I'm still like, okay, which one's Tia? Which one's Tamara? And I think that's what they're called in the show as well. So it's genuinely their names, but I think they've got different surnames. Because as we find out, they were separated and adopted by different parents at birth. So one was adopted by a single mother, and the other one was adopted by a couple, but the mother died after, and they kind of reunited 14 years later. So this was what's that film?
Parent Trap.
What's that?
Parent Trap.
Ah, thank you.
The Lindsay Lohan movie.
There was a remake. It was an original film in the 60s.
Yeah, but Lindsay Lohan. That was a remake.
I remember the Lindsay Lohan version. But yeah, this is essentially like the Parent Trap, that they were separated by two different parents and they kind of meet in a store shop. So like they're doing some shopping, and one of the girls would go up to the store clerk and be like, "Can I have these shoes?" So he's like, "Okay, I'm going to go." And then another one will come up and be like, "I don't want those shoes." And he's like, "I just spoke to you a minute ago." And so he's getting really, really confused. And he's like, "You just told me to get this shoe, or you told me to get this coat." And so they're all confused, and then they all kind of sort of meet at the till. And then they're both like, "Hey, you got my face. You got the same face as me." And they're like, "Oh, so we must be twins." And so like, obviously they live separate lives and whatnot. And then I think Ray kind of suggests, because I think Lisa has a job and she's like, maybe I'm going to take it. But the twins are like, look, we haven't seen each other for 14 years. You can't split us up. And so that was where Ray was like, okay, why don't you come and live with us and we'll figure it out and whatnot. And the girls could stay together. Now, when I remember Sister growing up as a kid and whatnot, I did not realize until when I'm watching it now that, number one, that they were separated at birth and reunited. And then secondly, I just thought the parents were like mum and dad and they all was like a family. I didn't realize there was so much backstory and background in terms of where they kind of came from and that they were kind of adopted separately and things like that. I had no idea.
Sister was a show that I never watched as a kid. I'll have to check with my sisters if they watched it, because I think I was probably of the mindset, it's a girl's show, I'm not watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember anything about it, so I can't relate to not knowing the backstory, because I didn't know either. I was like,
yeah.
But because you were just talking about the pilot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was Googling. We had a conversation about this over messages and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I watched the pilot. It was quite hard to follow, and then you were like, I was like, it did feel like a pilot episode to me, and you're like, well, what did you watch? Because it's exactly like a pilot episode. And I found out that when I was Googling it, I Googled Series 1, Episode 1. They're like, yeah, here's Series 1, Episode 1. And it was a completely different episode. Even in some lists, the episode that I watched, which I will probably go into later, was on top of some lists and then second on some other lists. So I couldn't find the pilot, which was quite sad.
But what was the episode that you did watch out of interest?
First Dates. I think it was the second episode, Series 1.
Yeah. So, because I found the same kind of thing as well, where there was something that I saw on the internet where it said that was season 1, episode 1. And then obviously I did more research and more digging, because I care about this podcast more than you.
Whoa. I had a look.
Sips imaginary tea.
No, see, I actually looked this morning. It was this morning. I was at work. I was at work when I was watching the other one. I even messaged you a picture of my desk watching it. That's how much I care about this. Hey, Paul, where's that report you're supposed to give in?
Where's your day job?
Bye. But I was looking at it this morning. Just it was about 7 o'clock this morning, mind you. I was looking for this episode. I was looking for, what's it called again?
The Meeting.
The Meeting. So I was looking for The Meeting. I was looking for Series 1, Episode 1. I was looking on all the usual spots to look for things. Looking on YouTube, Dailymotion. There's 100 more that I can't find.
There's plenty more, just in case YouTube and Dailymotion and
you even sent me a link saying this is the episode list. Went on the list, Series 1, Episode 1, clicked the list, First Dates again.
That's interesting.
So I was really struggling to find it, and I was quite sad because I really wanted to watch that. I really like the first episode of like loads of things, even like superhero movies. Yeah. The bit how they get to the bit is like one of my favorite bits. I always like
watching the pilot and the finale, so like the last ever episode.
Yeah,
I always try to bookend things and just do that.
That's why I watched The Tribe like that.
Not a very good idea. Like if you're watching episode 1 and then you have to watch like episode 304 for the season finale.
Yeah, I mean I did miss a little bit in the middle.
Of course you do. Yeah, you're like who's that bloke?
And why? And Amber's still alive. That was good.
Why is she with a new tribe? What happened to the Morats? And so some of like I said, the characters Tia and Tamara. That's genuinely their names. It's Tia and Tamara Landry, but they play Tia Landry, who was adopted by Lisa, so she took the name Tia Landry, and then Tamara, who was adopted by Ray, took the name Tamara Campbell. And also some of the other kind of interesting characters. You had Roger, who was like the kind of the cute little kid who was like their next door neighbor, who's always kind of doting after the twins. And they're always like, go home, Roger, go home.
So he was really good in the episode that I watched.
Funnily enough, he was played by Marcus Houston, who is a very prominent R&B artist. How about that?
I didn't know that.
I didn't either, but I'm watching the thing and I'm like, he's a really good singer. And then you look at it and it says Marcus Houston on the credits, and I'm like, damn, that's Marcus Houston. And I think this could kind of be a theme with some of the shows that we do, because we're gonna like see, particularly with Moesha, like loads of singers and artists who kind of make guest appearances. Like with Marcus Houston, he was actually a regular in Sister Sister for like I think the first sort of 4 seasons. He was like always on the show and what have you. But yeah, he went on to have a relatively successful R&B career.
You find with a lot of actors, a lot of singers, they do have acting backgrounds as well.
Yeah, I think maybe because it's like the training.
Yeah.
So whether it's like, I don't know, Mickey Mouse Club and performing arts schools and things like that. So that was the way it was. So in terms of episodes of Sister Sister, I think the other interesting thing you told me about the first dates episode was you kind of recalling your own experiences, which I had a little chuckle to myself, and I was like, oh, it was like what?
So I'm going to go back to 2014.
Yeah.
Okay, so a bit of background for the viewers. Abdullah and I are brothers. He's my brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And how we got to that situation. So anyway, let me go back. So first dates, there's a guy and he's coming, he has to meet the dad, and he walks in and the dad's like, he doesn't like this guy. Just automatically doesn't like him because he's there for his daughter, right? Anyway, so back to 2014. Me getting dressed up in a suit, coming to Cambridge to meet. For the first time, I had to meet my 2 potential brothers-in-law. I had to meet and my mother and my potential mother and father-in-law. I had to impress. Like I had to at least not screw it up at this point, right? And anyway, I'm like nervous. I'm wearing a suit. I've come all the way from Cambridge. I'm sweating. I'm hot and this. Anyway, so Abdullah's really friendly. How are you doing? Are you okay? Sits down. We get a drink. We sit down. First thing you said to me, do you remember what it was?
No.
The first thing you said to me, apart from hello and stuff, was, why do you think you're good enough for my sister?
Oh, God, yes. I did say that.
The first thing that came out of your mouth.
You know, I was thinking it was something similar-ish to that kind of question. Yeah.
Yeah, so literally, why do you think you're good enough for my sister? So you kind of put me on the spot, and I'm thinking, So it's just kind of reminded me from that episode, like, the feeling of going into someone and having that,
yeah,
you know, because obviously you're in like full tilt protection mode. That's your sister, man. That's like,
yeah,
so that kind
it's like she's the quarterback and I'm Big Mike.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
I'm the left tackle.
I'm gonna get flattened.
Yeah.
So I thought it was quite funny, like the nervous feeling going in there, and also it's really fun in the episode. It's really funny because it's kind of like what's the dad's name again?
Ray.
And what's his last? Mr. Campbell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, Mr. Campbell, how are you? He's like, oh, call me Ray. And then by the time he leaves, he gets annoyed with him. And he's like, Mr. Campbell. No, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It's just like just a throwback to like being scared to death.
Yeah. I know I'm going to have to do that one of these days, but not anytime too soon. Some of the episodes that I watched of Sister Sister... So you had one where the interesting thing about America is that their bus systems are hella complicated. It's not like here where it tells you every stop you're going to. So it's virtually impossible to get lost.
It's virtually, in the UK?
Yeah.
No, it's virtually impossible to get lost in London. You step 1 foot outside London, the bus system's not so good. We had two buses leave.
Actually, yeah. When I was living in Preston, it was a bit complicated. The buses.
Yeah.
It's one of those where if it wasn't for Google Maps, I sure as hell will be lost trying to figure it out and trying to find my way. But yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, maybe London, maybe outside. But yeah, it's bringing back interesting memories of me trying to like use public transport in Preston and Blackpool and trying to figure it all out and whatnot. But with America in particular, because this is like my own kind of experiences as well, like it's not because I remember I had to find like where I was staying, and I had to sort of get the bus, and it was one of those where you had to. I was diligently like looking at my phone, thinking, okay, I can't miss my stop. I can't miss my stop. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. And then you have to literally get off, because it isn't a case of here in the buses. It has, like I said, it has the names of the stops. It has the you can't get lost really, but over there it's like it's very interesting and complicated. So they basically go to a movie and they get lost on the bus ride home. And the parents are all getting roided because they're like, oh, where are they? Where are they? And the dad, he was like, oh, I don't really want my kids to be using the bus and like public transport or things like that. And within the actual episode, you kind of have like Tia and Tamara, who are kind of fed up as kind of being seen as twins. There, because obviously with twins, everyone thinks, oh my God, you're twins, you're so cute, and all this stuff. And Tamara is like, oh, I don't want to be a twin. I kind of want to have my own personality. I want to kind of be myself. And so that was an interesting sort of theme that they kind of have throughout, which is Tia and Tamara trying to become individuals, and they're trying to, obviously they're twins and you can't escape that, but they kind of want to be their own person instead of just being Tia and Tamara. They want to be Tia and Tamara.
Yeah, I bet that's quite a difficult thing to be a twin. I mean, obviously I've never been a twin. But to look exactly the same as someone. Do you know what I mean? And then like to be a different person and like with different things.
Yeah.
I think I think it's peculiar.
Interesting, yeah.
The thought that two people look exactly the same. Do you know what I mean?
It's like that. Have you ever seen the Spider-Man GIF or meme where like the two Spider-Mans are pointing at each other? It's like a really famous GIF where they're like pointing at each other. I think it was. It might have been like a sketch of a Spider-Man comic. And so it's one of those where like the identical Spider-Man comes and then he sees the other Spider-Man and they're kind of pointing at each other. It's used a lot in like popular culture today, and
that hurts because
you must see that all the time. So like, for example, if someone makes a point that, oh, you and I are in agreement, they'll just put the Spider-Man like pointing at each other. Like, huh?
I haven't seen it before. I'm looking for it now.
You're such an old man, seriously. And I'm older than you.
Yeah, but I can't find I don't use the internet, really, apart from to Google stuff. Normally on this podcast.
Oh, yes, on the Google. So I can look things up. Season 2, episode 1 was another good one where Tia and Tamara are starting high school. And why are you showing me? I know this already.
I was checking, is that the right one?
I've lost my train of thought now.
I think you're in the second.
Okay, yeah, so they start high school. The girls are getting a makeover, and Tamara gets a makeover, and she looks the bomb, and she looks amazing, and she gets to hang out with the cool kids and leaving Tia out in the cold, and Tia tries to get a similar-ish kind of look to her twin sister, but it ends up backfiring, so her hair's like on fire and all of that stuff. So that was a good one. And as we progress with Sister, these are now some of the episodes where it gets really, really, really good. So season 4, episode 2, You Are So Beautiful. So they have an encounter with the prom queen, Rhonda, and they start to figure out and find out about their looks, and they're getting really, really insecure. And so they start to ask Ray and Lisa about their birth parents. So they're saying, oh, how did my mom look? Or how did my dad look? And all that kind of thing. And they start to find sort of clues about their parents, and they start to find out clues about what they may have been and what they might not have been. And so Lisa finds out that their mum used to be an artist. And so they go to like a part of Detroit where there's a mural that their mum painted. So they kind of figure out, oh, look, that's my mum she's a painter, but she, as we learn, passes away shortly after giving birth to Tia and Tamara. That was a really, really good episode. I think it might be one of the best ones. Also, season 5, episode 18, I Have a Dream. So Tamara is getting really, really nervous and anxious about her exams that are coming up. And she has a dream where she kind of encounters a load of historical figures who kind of paved the way for Black people and for herself. So she comes across a Harriet Tubman who was kind of wondering, oh, should I go back to the South and sort of pave the way and free the slaves? And Tamara's kind of like, you should definitely do it. Don't get cold feet. Don't have second thoughts. And then obviously she comes across Martin Luther King, who's kind of like, oh, I don't know if I should go to college. I don't know if I should carry on with my studies. And she's obviously telling Martin Luther King that you definitely should. You shouldn't kind of give up your dreams. And then she kind of realizes that in the future that she's going to make a difference in the world. So she kind of then decides that, okay, maybe I should go to college and try and be the best I can be. And now probably the most significant episode of Sister Sister. This was season 6, episode 15, Father's Day. And so there's a photojournalist, Matt Silver, I think his name was. And he's like a really famous photojournalist. He's kind of been around the world. He's taken a whole bunch of pictures. And it kind of turns out that he is the biological father of Tia and Tamara. And because he's looking at all these kind of pictures, and he has a picture of the mural that their mum had painted. And he was like, that used to be, my wife, my girlfriend. And they're like, obviously, how do you have this picture? And he's like, it's because, yes, I was away. And by the time I came back, she had passed away, given birth, and he couldn't find the twins. Because obviously, I think it's like, you can't really sort of give out the addresses of, if you've adopted someone, I don't think the biological parents kind of really find out where they've gone and things like that. I think that's the law, not in just America, but here as well. And he was like, I tried to look for you guys. I spent ages looking for you guys, but I couldn't prove definitively that I'm the biological father. And so he comes to the house and he meets Ray and Lisa, and he's obviously like, thank you so much for taking care of them for all these years. You guys are the twins' parents. You've been a mom and dad through all these years. And yeah, so that was such a significant episode. And then obviously in the finale, Lisa is getting married, but not to Ray, but Ray's friend Vic. And she gets cold feet because she doesn't want everything to change, because one of the twins is going to Africa with her biological father. One of the other twins is going to New York because she gets, I think, a WNBA scholarship. And Ray gets offered a job in Washington, D.C. to try and clean up politics. So everything is changing. And Lisa is like, I don't want everything to change. I want our family to kind of be the way it is, how it's been for 6 years. And then Ray kind of finds her in a bar, and he kind of convinces her, like, look, you should get married. You should live your life. You've been my bestest friend for the whole 6 years. You deserve to be happy. The kids are moving on with their life. So he's like, you know what? This is your time. Go and get married. Live your life and enjoy it. Because he was like, this is it now. Everything's changing. So I really thought that was really lovely. And it was really interesting with the whole dynamic with Ray and Lisa, because if you're just watching like a random episode of Sister Sister, you would think mum, dad.
Yeah. You think there's a romantic interest in there.
Yeah, and there never really was. It was always kind of like friendly, kind of good banter, good energy between the two. I really liked that whole dynamic between those two. That was really, really fun to watch. And it was, yeah, you're like I said, if you're a snapshot episode of Sister, you wouldn't think that there were two complete strangers who happen to adopt identical twins, and they're all living together in a house, and they're getting to know each other, but there isn't nothing like romantic or anything like that. It's just, yeah, and then they develop into really, really good friends, and it's one of those where they are a family, but not in the conventional sense.
Yeah. But it still works. I mean,
it works really well.
It got quite deep, didn't it? I was just listening to your rundown there, and
yeah, like
obviously it's the first couple of episodes, and I'm guessing a lot of episodes in between are just quite trivial.
Yeah,
but to be honest, they hit on quite a few issues, right? Not issues, but like challenges that you might face.
Yeah.
First of all, you're black. Then you're a twin.
Yep.
You're basically orphaned for the most part of the series, right? Because you have no parents.
Yeah.
No real parents.
And you have no idea who your dad is.
Yeah, because the dad's not there, so they presume that he's not around anyway. So, potential orphans. And I'm sure you've mentioned something else as well.
Like they I don't think they knew. Like the dad, I think he didn't know that his wife or girlfriend or whatnot was actually pregnant.
Yeah.
I think by the time he realized it was too late.
It was too late, yeah.
She had passed away and the kids were put up for adoption and they were completely separated. So where do you look? Where do you even...
No, I think like you said, it's like protection for the children to be...
Yeah.
I think in the don't quote me on this, but I think in the UK the children are told who their parents are from the get-go. So when they come of age and when they're ready to go, they can then, if they want to, seek their parents out. Okay. There's quite a few issues and challenges and things like that this show deals with, right? It's not just like these. It's not just like a funny thing. Really, there's kind of underlying things that, if someone is having trouble at school, is having trouble either with their race, with the fact that they're a twin, or things like this. This girl's got everything going on all in one go. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's quite dealing with quite a lot of things all in one go, really.
Definitely.
As a just a kind of kid show.
And it's why I ended up really liking Sister. I thought it was a great show. I really enjoyed it. I think the twins are brilliant, Tia and Tamara, and they kind of play off each other so well, which I'm guessing is completely natural and normal. But yeah, this was a really good show. Next up, we've got Moesha. So we're going back now to January 1996 and some of the things happening in the world. You had France declaring that they will no longer test nuclear weapons after they were trying some tests in the Pacific, and it caused international outcry. And then the president, the late president now, Jacques Chirac.
Oh, that was last week, right?
Yeah, it was about last week.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. He was the president at the time, and he kind of said, okay, fine, we won't test nuclear weapons anymore. And you had Colonel Ibrahim Barre Mainasara, who deposed the first democratically elected president of Niger, Mahaman Ousmane, in a military coup. So, sucks to be President Ousmane. And Bed of Roses was the top cinema release in January 1996. And the duo Criss Cross released their third and final album, Young, Rich and Dangerous. You were aware of Criss Cross? You might know the song Jump, but Mac Dad will make you jump, jump. Daddy Mac will make you jump, jump. Criss Cross will make you jump, jump. Anyway, that's all right. Now we go on to Moesha, starring one of the probably biggest R&B singers of the 90s and the noughties and maybe even today, Brandy Norwood. And she plays Moesha Mitchell, who's a high school student, and this is based in the Lemont Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. It was created by Ralph Farquhar along with Sarah Vinny and Vida Spears. And yeah, this was based on a family. So you had Moesha, you had a little brother who was Miles. And you know what? I'm sensing a really interesting themes with some of these kind of black shows is that the husband is always widowed. Because in Moesha, the husband Frank, he's widowed. He's a widower.
And in Smart Guy.
Yeah, in Smart Guy, in Sister. Kaching, the parent, was a widower. I don't know. It's just very, very interesting. Very.
That's a good point, actually. I never noticed. Literally, until you picked that up.
No,
now.
It's like a trend kind of thing. And it's like all of these are widowed. Yeah, so Frank is a widower, but he's got a partner in the show, Dee, and you got this guy like Hakeem who's always coming to the house. He's like the next door neighbor, so he's always kind of popping in and out of the house. And obviously she has like love interests like Ohaji and Q and those kind of thing. And also with this show, you kind of had some really, again, dealing with a lot of social issues like teen pregnancy. You had like race relations. You kind of talking about like the death of a parent, which again, we kind of mentioned. And, you know, just the normal issues that, you know, teenagers will kind of go through. So like relationships, boys, girls, and all that stuff. So yeah, Moesha, what's...
Moesha, I found it really easy to find on the internet. There's loads of episodes around.
Yeah.
I was really confused with the because I think it was the first episode where Moesha gets up late, right? And she kind of goes downstairs and she's late and she wants to make breakfast for her dad and she gets mad because what I thought was her mum, was making blueberry pancakes and stuff like that. And they kind of had to and fro, and I was getting a bit confused about that, about why they haven't. And then right halfway through the episodes, they explain that's her stepmom, and I was like, kind of like a penny drop moment for me. And did you notice, like actually most of the sitcoms and Moesha, Sister, and even Living Single that we're going to talk about later, the houses are massive. They're enormous.
That's America though, isn't it?
But I'm talking these... I was just looking at some of these houses and I'm like, that is a dream for me.
Because when I went to Maryland to go see my family out there, that when
I
you're
thought you were
driving...
talking about the place near Stratford. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, they wish. So yeah, like, this is Maryland in America. It's not too far away from Washington DC. I know that for a fact. Like when I was driving past and going around the town and whatnot, like you could see like everything was just massive.
Yeah,
big cars, big roads, big houses, and you're looking at that and it's like here where it's just all small and cul-de-sac-y and
expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying because you pay a lot of money for barely nothing, right? But here, I was just wanted to make a note. Maybe it's something to do with the fact that there's always one parent gone. Life insurance cashing in.
I didn't think of that. And yeah, as I was saying, the main character was Brandy. Now, are you familiar with any of the works of Brandy?
Actually, my wife, your sister, told me just before we started recording about Brandy. Listen, I had no idea.
Anything worth mentioning that she told you?
That she's an R&B singer.
I just said that now.
Yeah, but I knew that before just because I was told. But apart from that, I don't know anything about her.
Interesting. No, she was born in 1979 in Macomb, Mississippi, but then was raised in California. She started her career as one of the child singers and performed as a backing vocalist for most teen groups. She got signed by a record label when she was pretty young. And as well as doing Moesha, she had a pretty good singles run. One of the prominent songs of the 90s was her duet with Monica, The Boy Is Mine, which I think was at the time and maybe today as the best-selling female duet of all time.
Really?
It was number one forever and ever, like in America.
I don't think I've heard it.
The Boy Is Mine, yeah, it was very... that's obviously, fighting over a bloke.
Yeah.
Apparently, I think her and Monica don't get on, which is insane when you think about how...
Is that because of a boy?
Song. Maybe, yeah. Maybe that song rang true. On the phone, yeah. It's like, this is an absolute cracker. She sold over 40 million records worldwide, had 8.62 million albums sold in the US. So she's clearly one of the biggest selling female artists of all time. She's won a Grammy, she's won an American Music Award, she's won 7 Billboard Music Awards. Obviously, as I was saying, some of her top songs include The Boy Is Mine, Aphrodisiacs, another one of her big songs, Have You Ever, I Wanna Be Down, featuring Queen Latifah. What About Us as well was another song. And obviously she did a duet with her brother, also an R&B singer, Ray J. They did the cover Another Day in Paradise, the Phil Collins classic. So it's like an R&B version of that song. It's a classic song from both sides, really. It was one of those rare occasions where a cover song does the original song justice, because obviously you get covers and it's just god awful, but most of the time. But on this occasion, it was a really, really good cover. So yeah, that's Brandy for you. And I think, I think she's one of the best R&B singers, one of the best sort of singers around. Somehow, despite me reading all those accolades, I don't think she's ever really got the recognition
that she deserves.
Truly deserves. I think she's a cracking singer.
I mean, that's not it's not the genre of music that I even like.
You don't say.
I can't. My wife looked through my playlist on my music and described it as white. So I mean that's
choking with your alibi. That's the game we play.
Don't be knocking Mr. Brightside.
Oh god. That's okay.
I mean, I'll go far as to say I didn't like the Kooks. They were too white.
Who were the Kooks?
The Kooks, oh dear Lord, they were rubbish. They did.
What are their famous songs?
Let me just quickly, because I'll know it as soon as I Google it.
This is so typical on Black History Month. We're talking about the whitest music artists ever.
They did. She Moves in Her Own Way.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was too much for me. Actually, just go back on Black History Month. Did you see the? I wanted to get your opinion on something, and I'll tell you what I thought afterwards. The Black History Month was kind of bundled together with the Black Asian ethnic minorities, kind of everyone bundled into one month.
Oh yeah. Oh.
What do you think about that?
They're trying to All Lives Matter Black History Month.
Yeah, but isn't it like it kind of bundles in everybody's culture into one.
There's 12 months. Y'all can have your own month in another month. Like, leave us alone. Like, why are you trying to... because I saw something like this last year. And it's like you're trying to All Lives Matter Black History Month. And it's like, it's 1 month.
But
the other 11 months, y'all can do and celebrate whatever you want to celebrate. Just let us have October.
But there's still quite a lot of history within black people, right? You've got there's a lot of history there.
Yeah.
And what it says
and we only get 31 days out of 365.
Yeah, and then you've got all of it says about all of like the Asian other ethnic minorities. They don't have enough history to be on their own.
I'm going to let them finish, but October is Black History Month.
Yeah.
Y'all can have November. Y'all can have another month that has 31 days. Like, make it August. Shoot, have that as your month. I'm not mad. Like, you know, let's celebrate you. Let's celebrate and celebrate your excellence, celebrate your brilliance. But
do you know what it kind of feels like to me?
I'm not saying don't have it. By the way,
no.
Everyone, don't stick it on me. Yeah, don't be like, oh, this militant guy. Oh, he wants to say all this. Like, I'm saying, there's plenty of room. There's 365 days a year.
Yeah.
There is 12 months. There is 52 weeks in a year. There is plenty of time to get everything in. Get it all in.
Mm-hmm.
But in the UK anyway, because obviously I know in America Black History Month is in February, but in October, it's Black History Month. March is Women's Month.
Yeah.
Stop trying to muscle in and trying to piggyback.
I think like what it feels like to me is like you kind of got like the white people, and then they just kind of try and bundle everything else into one box.
Yeah, all lives matter.
Yeah, so it's kind of a bit like here's us and here's you lot.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of rich cultures there. You know, like Asian culture. You got like
absolutely. Obviously, when you have Chinese New Year as well, like
you got Chinese New Year, you got loads of You're basically taking the rest of the world and saying your culture can be bundled in with this lot. It's all the same. It's all. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that people need to celebrate their own culture even more rather than
absolutely.
And I'm not kind of sure who's trying to push it all into one go. I don't.
No, but you know how like when Black Lives Matter came out and everyone kept saying, you know, Black Lives Matter, and then you had all these kind of white people going, oh, yes, but all lives matter. And it's like, well, if all lives matter, then you wouldn't have, as we were saying in the news roundup, a black guy getting, you know,
shot in his own house.
Getting absolute hiding by the police. And as we, you know, with Botham Jean recently.
Yeah.
Getting shot in his own house.
Yeah.
And the perpetrator who did it, a white woman, Amber Gaia, who only gets 10 years. Yeah, tell me Black Lives Matter then. Go on, tell me. Like it's ridiculous, but yeah, we digress.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to get your opinion on that. I was wondering about that all week.
That's absolutely fine. This is probably the time and place where we could talk about it, really. So yeah, if you have any other questions like that, then yes, feel free to ask, and not just you, Paul, but that goes to listeners as well. If you want to ask us questions about anything, really.
Yeah,
as long as it's tasteful.
Fire away.
As long as it's tasteful, as long as it's nice, I'll be more than happy to answer them. So the floor is yours, guys. And so some of the episodes of Moesha that kind of sort of stood out for me. I think we kind of touched on the pilot.
Yeah, I watched the pilot and the new one and the second one.
So which one was the second one again?
The one where she does she tries for cheerleading, and she doesn't get in, but her mate does, and she gets mad at her.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't think I saw one, but I did see the pilot, but I can't.
The pilot was the one with Ohaji, and she tries to go
to
the...
yeah.
She sneaks out.
Yeah, and then he ends up kissing another girl, and she kind of realizes from the get-go that men are trash. And
yeah, but it's quite a nice thing because she kind of has a falling out with her mother-in-law.
Yeah,
as I'm guessing,
and you had the dynamic with the mother-in-law.
Yeah, because it's always... because he said that, listen, like, there's been 3 years of it's just been me and the girls. Like, you know, this is a different...
me, Miles, and my dad. Like, I'm not used to this.
So there's kind of like a real... it's a real issue of... A lot of people guess, well, you know, when you've got the mother-in-law comes in, it must be difficult for the mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Coming in with the kids. And also difficult for the kids because all of a sudden they've got an upheaval in what they know.
And they're thinking,
We're going to lose our dad to this wicked witcher.
Yeah, you're replacing our mum who's passed away.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting, really fascinating dynamic. So that was an interesting episode. One of the other episodes that I liked was Hakeem's birthday. And so Moesha tries to get Hakeem's dad, who's out of the picture, to come to the birthday party. And she's obviously trying to make it a surprise. But like her friend Nikki, because she's got a big mouth, she kind of blurts it out. And he obviously was like, what the hell are you doing? What are you playing at? I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready to see my dad. You know, he left me and my mom high and dry when I was a kid. But he comes to the birthday. No, tell a lie. So he meets up with Moesha and they're trying to arrange it all. And then he ends up not coming to the birthday party. So he kind of bottles it, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's one of those sort of interesting sort of themes with black men and absent fathers. So it's probably going to be one that may resonate with a lot of people. Maybe not even just white, maybe not even just black, but, you know, white guys who may not have had their dads in the picture or regardless. I think it might be something that a lot of people can relate to. Whereas maybe you're thinking, I've been wanting to see my dad for the very, very first time, or I haven't seen him in years and years and years, and I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. So it's one of those kind of really, one of those dynamics where you don't really know how to react or what to do. You're all over the place and that kind of thing. And another a funny episode was Moesha meets Brandy. So Brandy is played by Moesha. So, like, for example, they're trying to go to a concert. And they're trying to go to a Brandy concert. And, okay, so they're doing is one of those, like, two-way things.
Yeah.
Where Moesha is trying to meet Brandy. And they're like, you know, oh, you can get us into the concert because you look like Brandy. And then Moesha's like, I don't look nothing like Brandy. So it's obviously tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
So, oh, I look nothing like Brandy. Whatever. And Moesha's like, oh, maybe I can meet Ray J and all this stuff. And obviously Ray J's her brother. So again, it's one of those tongue-in-cheek moments. And this was kind of like she goes backstage and Moesha talks with Brandy, and then they have like a discussion, and and Brandy's giving Moesha advice. And this is off the back of Moesha having a massive falling out with her dad, because her dad kind of discovers that she's been seeing someone, like a guy from college. And obviously I think Frank had the rule that she can't be seeing anybody or can't be dating anybody until she's like 16 or whatever, or like old enough.
Yeah, but in the pilot he says you can't go out with someone until you're 16, and that's in a week's time.
Yeah. But I don't know, but she's obviously been seeing boys and obviously that kind of stuff, you know, as you do as a teenager, sneaking out and whatnot. So that was kind of like the backdrop of the episode, was that, you know, she had this massive falling out with her father, and they're at loggerheads with each other. And then obviously she goes to the concert and she meets Brandy, and then she goes to the Brandy concert, and Brandy is singing and whatnot, and she's like, oh, I really like you, Moesha. And I think at the time she kind of breaks up with her boyfriend because he was like, you're moving way too fast. We should just kind of slow it down. And she's like, oh, you don't really want what I want, so I'm going to break up with you and we'll go our separate ways. And probably the most explosive episode of Moesha was season 5, Secrets and Lies. Now we find out that there's their cousin Dorian comes to live with them. But he was adopted by Frank's sister. And one of the relatives who comes around, Aunt Hattie, she kind of blurts out that Dorian is in fact Frank's son.
No way.
Woo-wee! And that was like, damn. And Moesha's like, so what, you cheated on our mum then? And he's like, look, let me explain. Because I think, he had cheated on his wife with a random woman, and she didn't really want the baby. So Frank was like, to Sally, his sister, look, adopt him, raise him up as your son or whatnot. And Moesha has a falling out with her dad, and it's like, I don't want nothing to do with you. How could you cheat on our mum? How could you do this to us? And the whole dynamic of the household just changes. And Dorian is like, how could you not tell me? So he calls his mum, or now his auntie, and he's like, how could you not tell me? Like, my whole life is a lie. People have lied to me. You've lied for such a long time. You've hid it from me. So this was really powerful, explosive stuff. And eventually they kind of work it out, and they realize, Dorian kind of realizes, maybe I need a father in my life and whatnot. And it kind of ends, I believe Moesha ends with her being pregnant.
Really?
So I think that's how it kind of ends, because obviously I think they've all grown up. They're all at college and whatnot. She starts to date Hakeem, who's like the boy next door. I was going to say girl next door, but the boy next door.
That's a modern show.
I think that's a completely different show. But so the interesting thing about Moesha was that there was a spin-off show starring the friend Kim Parker. She gets her own spin-off show. I think it's called The Parkers. So this was a spin-off from Moesha. So this is Kim and whatnot. And this was played by the brilliantly named Countess Vaughn. That's her name.
Her real name? Really?
Her real name is Countess Vaughn, yeah.
Sorry, just quickly, what channel was this broadcast on in the UK?
I think CBBC also showed Moesha at some point as well. I think they did, yeah. I think CBBC will show Moesha.
And that was his sister as well?
Yes. And so I think maybe Nickelodeon showed these.
Yeah, that's the kind of parent.
Satellite. But I think on terrestrial TV, CBBC used to show Moesha and Sister.
Cool. I just wanted to kind of get that in my head whilst I'm...
Yeah. So in terms of choosing between the two, what are you thinking?
Easy one for me. I didn't like Moesha, so I'm going to go Sister.
You didn't like Moesha?
No.
At all?
No.
Really?
It was just like, I didn't really feel anything for it. I didn't. I mean, it had this kind of like little, I guess a little bit of charm, but certainly not as much as the Sister had quite a few lovable characters in it, ones that are funny and this and that and the other. So I enjoyed Sister a lot more than Moesha for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, for me...
And they can't all be winners this week. 1 week someone's got to lose.
Okay, again, I think there's a runaway winner here. And that runaway winner is Sister.
Really? How come we're going to agree?
Yeah, I loved this show. Really, I did. I thought it was fantastic. I thought Tia and Tamara, they're brilliant. Loved the dynamic between the two. I loved the episodes and the concepts that they kind of covered. I loved the episodes where they're like figuring out about their parents and they're trying to figure out who their parents are. I loved the dynamic between Ray and Lisa. How you'd think they're a married couple, but they're not. They're just two mates who just happen to adopt twin daughters. Yeah, and the episodes were just really, really easy to watch, really fun to watch. I did like Moesha, but I didn't like it as much as I like Sister. So yeah, it was a clear winner here was Sister. So
Nice. I'm glad we agreed. I thought you were going to shoot me when I said I didn't like it.
No. I think Moesha was. It was very interesting in the sense that this was like a singer who's kind of playing this role, and to be fair to her, she stuck at this role until 2001. So
I really thought
Moesha and Sister had long runs.
Yeah.
So this was shows where they did a lot, and it was on TV for a very, very long time, and they got enough time to really develop and grow. And obviously she's, when she was doing this, she was kind of on the cusp of her career, and even when it kind of took off with The Boy Is Mine, she still, I think, did Moesha right until 2001. So good shows, but yeah, good job, Sister. Absolutely loved those shows. And now we come on to the main event. So let's go back to August of 1993. And this was quite a slow month and a slow year, really. But you kind of had the IRA who planted 8 bombs around Bournemouth, of which 5 were detonated. But I don't think there was any deaths or anything like that. So it was just one of those.
Bournemouth?
Bournemouth, yeah.
I mean...
I don't know why anyone would
isn't
bomb
Bournemouth just full of old people and students?
Bournemouth is lovely.
Yeah.
I like Bournemouth. Bournemouth is a nice little...
It's a nice little seaside town.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like the busiest place in the world, is it?
No. I don't know.
I guess August 93, that is the summer.
Well, yeah, because the IRA were just... They were at it in the 90s, so they were bombing everything that they could. You also had the 150 millionth visitor of the Eiffel Tower. I don't think I got my tens and units right there. 150 millionth, 150 millionth visitor of the Eiffel Tower. I'm not really sure how they measured that and calculated that. When was the Eiffel Tower built?
Oh, dude.
I'm saying 1800s.
1800s?
I think so.
Hang on. No, you got to wait. If you ask a question, you got to wait for the answer now.
This might just be a thing where Paul's just on the Google and just...
Oh, dude, you were good. So the Eiffel Tower was built on the 28th of January.
On my birthday!
Is that your birthday?
Yes!
But it was 1887. So it wasn't your birthday.
So nearly 100 years.
Yeah, so 99 years.
Woo!
Before you were born. No, 101 years before you were born.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Wow. So 1800s, I was right. I'm taking that. I got it right.
I think it's born on my birthday in the 1800s.
The Fugitive. I think this is the, what's his name? Jack Harrison. What's his name?
Who's Jack Harrison?
The Fool. He was Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars.
That's not Jack Harrison. That's Ewan McGregor.
No.
Obi-Wan Kenobi was Ewan McGregor in Star Wars.
In the old film.
Oh, in the old ones. Forget the old ones. They're rubbish.
But who? He's a famous actor. I can't think of his name.
Old Ben Kenobi.
Harrison
Ford.
Is it Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford was Han Solo.
That's what I meant. Same difference, man. Shoot. And now I probably alienated every single Star Wars fan. They're going to be coming out in pitchforks now.
Okay, so just
Harrison Ford, that's it, yeah.
So Harrison Ford,
The Fugitive, yeah.
So just quickly, whilst we're in trouble with the Star Wars community, I just want to quickly say that I think episode 1, 2, and 3 were better than 4, 5, 6. And I've still...
Oh! Got him! Got him!
I think...
Oh! See, I don't like mess with Star Wars, but even I like 4, 5, and 6. I think they're dope.
No, okay, so the
Luke, I am your father. Oh!
Yeah, but that's just like known now that that's the case. So one of the things that I'm going to say, right, one of the best things about Star Wars is lightsabers, right? They're the coolest thing in the world, right? Or in the galaxy, the universe. R2D2. But right, so do you want the boring old lightsaber battles that are in 4, 5, and 6? None of the lightsaber battles in 4, 5, and 6 are good. None of them. You look at the lightsaber battles in 1, 2, and 3.
Wow.
They are incredible.
Wow.
Incredible.
So you're using the fact that these films were done in the 70s against them.
Just because they were made in the 70s doesn't mean the sword skills were rubbish.
No, but obviously technological innovations wasn't really a thing. So
yeah, I guess. But what I'm saying is, I would love them to remake the films if they and everyone would like.
What's the point?
Because imagine 4, 5, and 6 with epic special effects and lightsaber battles.
Yeah, but then that will ruin the whole magic of Star Wars.
No, but imagine it
will ruin the magic.
Imagine a death of Obi-Wan Kenobi that wasn't the most underwhelming lightsaber battle that ever was ever.
But it will ruin the magic of Star Wars.
I don't think it would. I think it would improve it.
But people have fond memories of
but
the 1977, 79, and 81, whenever those 3 had come out.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that people have really fond memories of them, but they're not the special effects.
Yeah, but you could say that about any film then.
Yeah,
you could say that about any kind of film that sort of dealt or touched certain topics and things, and you could say, you know what? Okay, this wasn't really done well in 1942. What's the film where here's looking at you, kid? So maybe it feels like a really fast train or something like that, and it looked nice and bright. Casablanca, that's it, isn't it? Here's looking at you, kid. Or was that Gone with the Wind?
I think it might be Gone with the Wind.
Here's looking at you, kid. So yeah, are we gonna remake that? Where does that stop? It's like a never-ending thing.
It was Casablanca. So Casablanca and Gone with the Wind didn't have lightsaber battles. So there's no point in remaking those.
Yeah, but if they did, you'd want them to be remade, don't you?
Yeah. Okay, like here's a blanket rule. If it's got a lightsaber battle in it, let's remake it. Yeah?
Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, The Fugitive was the #1 movie, and Mr. Vane by Culture Beat was #1 at the time. Incredibly catchy song, which probably captures the essence and the mood of 1993. And so now we go on to Living Single. So this was kind of based on the lives of 6 friends who live in a Brooklyn brownstone. So a brownstone is just basically like a big
block of flats.
Yeah. Like
high rise.
Brown, yeah. High-rising block of flats and things like that. They're called brownstone because I think the colour.
It was made out of brown
outside
stone.
colours, yeah. So you got 6 of the 6 people. So you got Khadija, who was played by Queen Latifah. You got Sinclair, played by Kim Coles. You had Maxine, played by Erica Alexander. You had John Henton, who played Overton. And you had Kim Fields, who played Regine. So they were like the sort of main sort of characters, and it's just basically following them, following their lives. It was produced by Yvette Lee Bowser and her company with Warner Bros. The opening credits was performed and written by Queen Latifah, naturally. I should also mention that Moesha was the opening credits was performed naturally by Brandy. And yeah, it's considered to be one of the most popular black shows, black sitcoms of its era. Probably one of the best of all times. And it kind of probably paved ways of like different other sitcoms. So the formula of the show, you can kind of see it in many of the other sitcoms. So like things like Girlfriends, things like Friends, Insecure. So this was Issa Rae's one. Girls by Lena Dunham. They all kind of get their idea from Living Single. So that was, so without any of those kind of shows, they wouldn't even exist, I don't think, without Living Single, really. So they really, really did open the door, pave the way for many, many, many sitcoms.
What channel was it broadcast on Even in the States, or I don't think it's broadcast over here, right?
I have no idea.
Because I just was thinking I had never even heard of this show. Still now, from just watching on TV, and I mean, I've watched a fair amount of TV when I was growing up, but I didn't. This was nowhere near my radar. I had no idea. Did you know it existed before?
No, I had no idea. It was one of those where, as I'm preparing, as I kind of do every week, with Black History Month, I was just kind of thinking there's got to be like some really, really cool black shows that I can do, really, really cool in these black shows. And then I sort of come across this. Obviously, I know Queen Latifah very, very well.
No, of course, yeah.
And you're looking at that and you're looking at Living Single. I'm like, oh, okay, hang on. I'm sort of reading about it. And then you're kind of watching it. And it's just like, this is really, really cool. It's a black sitcom. Again, predominantly all black cast. And it's just them trying to figure out and, living and surviving in 1990s America. Obviously, it's based in Brooklyn, so it's very real. It's very relatable to many, many black people watching. And, for many, many UK listeners, you guys are going to learn, like, this is a show that existed. This was a show that was around back then that there's a very good chance that you didn't hear of it. I know I didn't, but I'm watching it and you just watch it and you think, yeah, actually, when I didn't even think about Friends, but when you watch it and you see it, you're kind of looking at it and it's like, yeah, I think Friends or the makers of Friends looked at that and thought, yeah, we'll make a white version of Living Single.
But is Friends Warner Brothers as well? I don't know who made...
I think, yeah, Friends is Warner
Brothers. It's part
of
the Warner Brothers Studios, right?
Yeah.
So you can definitely... And it's only when you've mentioned it that you can see the similarities between it. And it's because weird, because Friends was enormous in the UK.
Yeah.
It was like one of the... It's when a kind of American culture really exploded into the UK, and we started copying things like Starbucks. I'm pretty sure before, like, Friends and things like that, going out for a coffee in a proper coffee shop was like not really a thing, right?
Yeah.
We had our cafes and things like that, but I don't remember. Well, now look how many coffee shops are in the high street.
Yeah, they're replacing pubs now.
Yeah, so if you think you can go 3 or 4, you within 20 square meters, you've got 100 coffee. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about coffee shops for. So Friends.
No, because the idea that how this show that clearly got its idea from another show became such a huge hit, and you're thinking that could easily be Living Single, easily.
Yeah.
And you just look at some of the like the way that they kind of deal with the strains of like black people and kind of like life in general. So like I said, you've got Khadija, who she's kind of got a magazine. She runs an urban magazine, but you kind of see how she's struggling to cover the costs. She's struggling to make ends meet. You got Sinclair, who kind of helps out. She moves from Minnesota and she's cousins with Khadija. And she kind of helps out with, with the magazine and things like that. The magazine, by the way, is called Flavor Magazine. And then you got like Regine, who's kind of like the strong black woman, go-getter. She works at a law firm. She's doing everything in her power to make partner. And so she's very like high-powered. She is all into the corporate life. And then you got Regine, who's kind of like the pretty one, who's always caring about her looks. And she always wants to kind of marry a millionaire. She's about that rich life. But you kind of find out that she grew up in the housing projects, which I think for us in the UK, that's council houses. And so with the guys, you got Kyle, who's a stockbroker. So again, he's very like straightforward. He's very, very into his work, very into what he's doing. And then you kind of got Overton, who's like a handyman. So he's very working class, very manual labor kind of job. So with all 6 of them, we kind of see how they're dealing with all of that, how they're dealing with the stresses and the strains of black people in Brooklyn, in New York, in general. And it's really interesting how a maker of Living Single, so you had Yvette Lee Bowser, and she kind of wanted to really make a program that really dealt with and really covered black issues and black lives. And obviously she's thinking that it's a case of, I'm not seeing that anywhere on our screens.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like the industry that she's in is only ever going to embrace white people. And so it was kind of like, for her, she says, and I quote, "For me, it began with the realization that if this industry was really going to cater to and embrace white people and white men in particular and have them in positions of power, I wasn't going to be here long. So that was my impetus for getting into the world of development and creation of shows about us." And she goes on to say, "I was very frustrated writer on a show about black people where there were basically no black people in power behind the scenes. So that set the tone. That was the impetus for me becoming more determined to create something that I could create what I felt were more well-rounded depictions of us, black people, as well as creating a workplace that was not necessarily warm and fuzzy, but more open to us, a workplace that embraced us. And by us, I mean women and people of color." So her determination was, I wanted to make a program where we're going to like have a wide scope and wide range of black people. So whether they come from a well background, or whether they come from the projects, or whether they come from the hood, I want to kind of bring all of those stories and kind of bring them to light. So I think that was her aim and that was her intention. And she'd also said that there'd been a void on television that needed to be filled because there wasn't. Because obviously, I think you did have black shows, but they were all very corny, very...
Yeah.
So the one that I will think of in mind is the Cosbys and like the Huxtables. And, you know, Claire Huxtable, obviously she was like a lawyer, I think, in the Cosbys. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I think she was a lawyer. And okay, you're thinking of that and you think, okay, that's really, really good. But there isn't necessarily a wide scope. There isn't a wide range of positions and roles that black people could take. And as you know, in the real world, in real life, there's loads of things out there. And I think that's what Living Single tried to do.
I think if you look at the what Friends do, I'm going to go kind of compare it to Friends.
That's fine, yeah.
Because I'm thinking this gave Friends the platform to do what it did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that it gave and also because I watch Friends, I haven't really watched this too much, but
yeah,
you know, it gives you the ability to have a comedy, you know, or something funny, a kind of sitcom thing going on, but tackle real issues, things that can make you laugh, but can then also stop dead, you know, make you cry or make you think or make you reflect.
Yeah.
And not lose anything from its DNA. Do you see what I mean? So I think that if that's what Living Single managed to do for the platform, that's incredible.
Yeah,
because it you know, like you said, other things were like corny or not kind of taken too seriously at the time, but it makes you like, it's funny, it's great, but also can tackle whatever it wants to tackle because it's got that because it's got substance beneath it.
Yeah. And I think with this kind of show, what they did brilliantly well was they managed to mesh all of those different kind of people, and they kind of brought them together into a brownstone and told these kind of different stories. And so you learn so much about them. You learn so much about the things that they go through. And as we'll talk about with some of the episodes that they do, that I kind of felt was was really good and really interesting, and kind of dealt with certain issues that maybe might not be sort of talked about or discussed sort of within the black community. And so before we get to the episode kind of rundown and kind of talking about certain episodes, I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Kyle and Maxine. So this was kind of like the two were like, you know, like with most sitcoms, you kind of get two people who are like, will they, won't they?
Ross and Rachel.
Yeah. They're essentially like the kind of the Ross and Rachel. So it kind of starts with them spending the night together, which kind of ended season 1. And they kind of wake up next to each other and they're like, oh, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And like for the longest time, they kind of have like a secret affair that nobody kind of knows about except for them two. And then they kind of think, you know what? I love you, you love me. Maybe we should kind of get together. Because obviously like Maxine is very stubborn, very hard-headed. Kyle is like, look, I'm being offered a job in London. I'm thinking about taking it. What do you think? And she's like, yeah, okay, go. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go then. And then she kind of says, I love you. And then it's like, okay, so what's
bye.
going to happen kind of thing. And then again, they're both very, very stubborn. And then he ends up going to London anyway. And then he kind of comes back towards the end because the season finale, we find out that Maxine is pregnant because I think she does goes to a sperm bank or whatever. And Kyle also decided to give his sperm to the
sperm bank.
Yeah, and so obviously she gets to choose, and she happens to choose Kyle's one. So she's carrying Kyle's baby. And so I think in the end they kind of come together and they're like, you know, we're gonna raise our kid and we're gonna have our kid together and whatnot. And so they, just like in Friends, you know, Ross and Rachel, spoiler alert, Ross and Rachel end up getting together.
Yeah, because they did the whole wrong airport thing in the last episode, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about some of these episodes of Living Single. So which ones did you watch and which ones did you think, okay, these are quite good or
so I watched good? So I watched a couple. No, do you know what? I didn't think any of them were bad. I thought it was all... I was trying to get to grips with who's who and what's what and why is why and this and that and the other, but the pilot was quite good. So I think in the pilot was about what was that girl's name?
Oh,
Kim.
Regine.
Oh, Regine. Was that she gets with a guy?
Yeah.
And he's married.
Yeah.
And then they just did the whole bit about the thing, and when he kind of gets caught out and she challenges him, and all the other girls are listening, and, and they're like, and they're kind of dictating what he's going to say, and he's following. And he goes, "Men never deviate from the script."
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
and it was really, really good episode. Where it was like it introduced everyone nicely. You kind of each character had their own thing going on. Yeah, it wasn't like he's just this guy and he's got a line to say. Everyone had their kind of own backstory, which is quite cool. This next episode started off about some their women are grooming themselves, right? And they get fed up because men don't groom themselves and they don't have to go through the thing, so they kind of go on strike. So they're kind of I can't remember what happened. I think when the episode actually kind of kicked off, it was not really about that, but I've forgotten kind of what happened. That was the second episode anyway. I watched the first couple of episodes of Living Single. I always forget the name of this show though. Living Single doesn't roll off my tongue, I have to say.
I think it does.
I always want to say Single Ladies. And then I get the song in my head.
Yeah, I think that's a completely different concept and different type of entertainment there. But I think for me, I liked the pilot. Thought it was really good, really, really fun. I like how they're all singing in the mirror. I think My Girl, I think they were singing.
I found that really disturbing because one of them's holding a toilet brush.
It's probably a prop though, isn't it?
Of course it's a prop, but it still put me off. But I did have that song in my head for quite a while afterwards.
Never Can Say Goodbye, season 4, episode 24. So, as we mentioned before, this was the episode where Kyle and Max are having their kind of to and fro. Kyle is saying, look, my firm are offering me a job in London to run the business there. So I'm thinking about taking it. And Max is being all stubborn and whatnot, saying, oh, whatever, you can take the job. And while all this was happening, this was Overton and Sinclair's wedding. I think she's ace. I think she's my favorite character. She was very fun, very bubbly character. And they get married. Khadija and Kyle, they sing a duet that they wrote for the ceremony. And obviously Kyle is singing to Max. But I don't think they kind of, as we said, he moves to London anyway. They don't really kind of work it out. And also the interesting episode, again, you kind of had season 3, episode 19, Shrink to Fit. So Khadija is really, really struggling with Flavor. She's working a second job just to make money. So she's working as a security guard in a retirement home. And then she finds out that her ex, Scooter, is seeing someone new. And she's completely over the edge, but she's reluctant to go and speak to a psychiatrist or a shrink. And so she's getting really, really like worried, like, oh, I don't really want anybody to see me. I don't really want anybody to know that I'm struggling and all this kind of stuff. And then this was, again, this is a subject matter that's really touchy with the Black community, because it's one of those things where we as a people don't tend to want to share our problems, and we don't want to like air our laundry out to the world. We kind of want to keep it amongst ourselves, and we kind of want to sort it out amongst ourselves instead of airing it all out to a complete stranger. So I think they kind of do this episode really well, because it's kind of like Khadija realizes that she is struggling, and she is struggling to remain afloat while all this stuff is happening in her world, while she's obviously got a project, Flavor magazine, that she's incredibly passionate about, but it's just one of those where there's a rival magazine that's about to open, and she's getting really, really stressed out about that rival magazine, worrying that it might take readers away from Flavor. And again, this was an episode where it was really, really well done with that particular topic. And with Doctor in the House, season 4, episode 12, this was where Khadija has an anesthesiologist boyfriend, Charles, and he's basically been given an award as being a really, really prominent doctor. And she goes to this really like prestigious event, and she kind of sees like all these upper class Black people, and they're like looking down on her name. They're like, oh, Khadija, that sounds very ethnic and foreign. And they're like, oh, your ghetto magazine, Flavor, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like really getting on her swede. And so she's getting really annoyed and irritated about that. But like her boyfriend, Charles, he is like, don't worry about anything. All of this stuff is no important, because, and also with this episode, it kind of shows that her work is really, really important to her. She's very passionate about Flavor magazine, and it might not be one of those really prestigious jobs like being a doctor or like being a lawyer. It's kind of like, yeah, you're running a magazine, and it's a Black magazine. It's an ethnic magazine, so nobody's really gonna really care about any of that sort of stuff. So that was a really, really, really good episode. And in terms of the season finale, as I was kind of saying, you kind of had Kyle coming back from London, and he kind of discovers that Max is carrying his baby because obviously she picks the sperm and that kind of thing. And then on one of the lines they said, oh, you know what? Maybe we're destined to be together. And then Maxine's like, no, we're doomed to be together, because obviously they just bicker and argue like an old married couple. And Sinclair gets offered an acting job in LA, and she's concerned about how that's gonna play with her husband now, Overton. Khadija reassures Sinclair that Overton loves you no matter what and is all gonna be fine. And I think it kind of ends with Scooter coming back, and so he's like, hey, Khadija, I'm back, kind of thing. And she goes off with him to Rio on holiday. So it kind of ends like that. So the interesting thing about Living Single was that it never really got the credit and the acknowledgement that it deserved for being such an influence for many sitcoms, not even just Friends, but like many sitcoms that you have where people are living in a building together and they're trying to figure out life and trying to figure out how to navigate your way through the 90s and all of the trials and tribulations that go with it. So with Friends, the only difference is that they were maybe, I think, based in the Manhattan area.
The difference is they were white. Let's be honest about it.
They were white as well. And Living Single was set in Brooklyn. So, and again, it was one of those where I think black people in the 90s would be watching Living Single, or the white people would be watching Friends. So there was kind of like a head-to-head element sort of thing, but the show that got pushed, the show that got more recognition, the show that got more awards was not the black show, I'm afraid. It was
the white show.
The white show. Which, you know what, don't get me wrong, I like Friends. And I would happily watch Friends, and maybe down the line happily talk about Friends.
The thing is, I think like everyone, I've not met anybody that doesn't like Friends. I think Friends is kind of a general, even whether whoever you are, I think you can agree that Friends is okay. It's not, some people love it, some people don't like it as much, but I think most people like it. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that Friends is the show that came here, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't Living Single.
No.
So maybe if we were given that show, Living Single, that would be the show we were talking about. We weren't given the opportunity to like one or the other.
Yeah.
It was just, here's the one that you're going to like and the one that you're going to be.
I can't say for sure whether or not a Channel 4 or a BBC showed Living Single. I have no idea. I don't think they did.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah,
so,
me neither, until I started doing this podcast. So,
and again, I hadn't heard of it.
You haven't heard of many of the shows that we've done, particularly the Black History Month, Paul. So
yeah, shame on me.
But no, with this show, again, you know, UK TV heads, let me know if Living Single was on the telly, because I don't think it was. I think producer Paul over there is consulting the old Google.
I'm consulting Google to see if it did air in the UK. I can't obviously we can't be Googling all day, but it's not obvious if it did.
No, I think it's one of those where if it was on the UK television, it would have been on for a short period of
Channel
time.
5 at like 11 o'clock at night or something ridiculous.
I remember Channel 5 came in 96 or 7, so Living Single was 93.
I didn't get it until like 2012 or something ridiculous.
But no, yeah, it's one of those legacy shows, and even like the actors and actresses, when they talk about like what the show means to them and the influences that they had, like they say like, yeah, like without us there wouldn't be most of these shows. Maybe like having people living in an apartment block wouldn't be as successful if this wasn't here to kind of be the first.
Yeah.
So in that in that sense, it was.
I mean, it's a good accolade to have, nonetheless. But you're not getting the recognition perhaps you deserve.
Yeah.
But obviously, Friends is never going to say, the creators of Friends and whoever they are never going to say, "Oh yeah, we stole it from those guys." So those guys did a good job. Do you know what I mean? They're never going to say that. They're always going to say, "Look how good we are."
Yeah. But no, it's one of those where.
Don't know if that was the case. I'm just saying that was.
In America, it's probably huge. Living Single. I would imagine it's huge because it's Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah is a big actress.
Yeah.
And rapper as well. She had a pretty useful run as a singer. And so again it was really, 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 really good. And then she was great in this role as Khadija James magazine editor. So yeah, I think Living Single, if you didn't know it, now you know it. And I would most definitely recommend you watch an episode or two, because you'll watch it and you'll think, oh, that's where Friends got it from. Oh, Phoebe's a lot like Sinclair. Oh, Regine and Rachel are very, very similar. Or you'd think Maxine is a lot similar to Monica. So you watch those kind of things and think, oh, okay, some of this makes sense. So definitely go out of your way to watch. And on that bombshell, I think it's a good place to bring the episode to an end. This was the 10th episode of Yesterday's Capers. So 10 episodes, and here's to another 10 and another 10 and another 10. I mean, you might not think it's a milestone to celebrate, but my kind of thing with this podcast is I'm going to celebrate every single milestone that comes my way. So, yeah, I'm celebrating it. 10th episode. Good job. Good job.
Next week, we're celebrating the 11th episode.
Yep. That's another milestone. So Yesterday's Capers is available wherever you get your podcasts from. So go out, get it, subscribe, listen, download, share it, spread the word, do all of those things. You guys have been incredibly supportive and I appreciate that. So please carry on doing that. You can follow Yesterday's Capers on Instagram at Yesterday's Capers1. You can follow on Twitter at Yesterday Capers1. Yesterday Capers on Twitter. And you can follow me on Instagram at Abdullah_Moallim. And you can follow me on Twitter at Abdullah Moallim, all one word. Again, give me a follow, send email, send suggestions, send whatever you want to send me, as long as it's nice and tasteful. And join us next week for another episode of Yesterday's Capers.